Hey there, I'm Brett. I'm the maker of the West Coast Trail app. And boy, if you tried to join us for the live stream tonight, I'm so sorry. Bit of a fiasco, it sounds like, on Facebook servers. So I wish Mike and Lance were here with me. But unfortunately, you just got me tonight. And I'm just going to do a quick YouTube video with the demo. So at least you can see that portion. Because I think we can't actually reschedule the live stream for quite a while, just from schedule conflicts and that. So yeah. So anyway, let me let me kick it off. So like I say, I'm Brett. I'm a big ultralight fanatic, backpacker, and I'm also a software engineer. And back in 2007, my wife and I hiked the West Coast Trail together, and it was such a profound experience for us that we vowed that if we ever had kids someday, we'd go back and take them on the trail. And fast forward to 2023, last year, and there I am planning my family vacation. And nothing had really changed in the last 20 years. I was quite surprised. Hikers were still using paper tide charts, and they were still doing time zone math. And so, as a software engineer, I sort of got curious about, well, maybe I should build an app. And then, of course, that begs the question of, boy, does the West Coast Trail really need its own app? There's so many hiking apps out there. To which my answer for that is yes, absolutely. The West Coast Trail is a world-class hike, and it is a world-class hike for a good reason, right? There are so many unique features on the West Coast Trail that you just don't find on other backpacking trips, like shipwrecks, cable cars, ladders, tidal impacts, surge channels, suspension bridges. Should I take the beach section? Should I take the tide section? There's a wealth of First Nations history. There's ferry crossings to deal with. So, all of this, I think, just needs an app to respect it and do a good job of it. So, as a software engineer, I can build apps. That was my easy part. My challenging part was I didn't have a lot of trail knowledge on the West Coast Trail because I've only done it once before. And so, fortunately, through a twist of fate, I managed to cross paths with Lance. And Lance is one of the light station keepers at Pachina Lighthouse. And that lighthouse is located on the West Coast Trail. And so if you have met Lance before, then you probably know that he is literally a walking encyclopedia of all things West Coast Trail. And so, I'm going to do a demo in a sec, and what you're going to see in the demo is really a huge amount of Lance's trail wisdom that's been codified into an app that can now go and travel in your pocket. And, not only is it going to enhance your safety on the trail, but I think it's truly going to give hikers a deeper and much more meaningful connection to the trail itself. So this time, actually probably in May of last year, I built a prototype and I put that out to the community, and boy, it spread like wildfire. And probably about 5,000 downloads of the app last year, and was very heavily battle tested by hikers on the trail. And since the trail closed in October, I've been busy rebuilding the app to go in the Apple and Google App Stores. And today's the day of the launch, and supposedly the day of the live stream, but we're going to skip over that bit. So without further ado, let me just jump. I'm going to screen share and I'm going to demo the app. Wait, before I do that, I guess I should tell you how to download it. Just go to your app store and type in West Coast Trail, and it should come right up. And then it's free to download, it's free to use, and there's a couple of optional upgrades in there that you may want to consider for a better experience when you're on the trail, and I'll talk about those in more depth during the demo. Okay, so once you have the app downloaded and installed, the first thing you're going to see is this trip setup screen, which just helps you enter your specific itinerary into the app. I'm going to tap next here. And the first question that asks me is what's my start date on the trail? And the trail is open from May 1st onwards. So I'm going to choose May 4th here and tap on next. Next thing it's going to ask me is which trailhead I'm starting at. If I drop this drop down, you'll see the three trailheads here. You'll see Pachina on the north end. You'll see Balatsid or Nitnat Village, the midpoint. And you'll also see Gordon River on the south end. In my case, I'm going to go with Pachina, so I'm going to choose that. Next is going to ask me which trailhead I'm finishing on. In my case, I'm going to choose Gordon River. I'm going to be 5 nights on the trail. And then finally, it's going to ask me which campsites I'm wanting to stay at. And I recognize some people are going to come in here and have no idea what campsites to stay at, and some people are going to know exactly what campsites they want off the bat. If you click on this Help Me Decide link, if you don't know, it's going to give you a suggestion for a popular itinerary or an offbeat itinerary, if you want to be a little bit off the beaten track. So I'm going to go with a popular itinerary here, and it's going to fill out all my campsites for me. I can drop that down and change a particular campsite if I don't like one particular one in the list. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Actually, on the left here, you'll notice there's a little graphic, and that graphic just simply shows me the distance of sort of how far apart my chosen campsites are. And that's really useful to know at this stage how far I'm going to hike each day. So I'm going to tap done here, and then it's going to throw me into the main trail page of the app. What the app's done here is it's basically taken my full itinerary and sliced that up into 21 different sections that I'll hike along the trail. And each section has a little slice of the map, the Parks Canada map that you'll get given at the trailhead, and a ton of detail about what you're going to encounter within that section. So if you look here, you'll see my first section's Pachena Bay to Mulset. And as I scroll down, I'm going to go Mulset to Michigan, and then Michigan to Darling. And Darling's actually where I'm going to stay the first night. And so now you see it flips onto day 2. And I can keep on going down throughout my whole trip. Every little section of the map is on here. So let me scroll back up here, go to the beginning of day 2, and look for an interesting section to talk about. Darling to Chicawas is a good one. Okay, so I'm going to drill into this section now. And what I want to draw your first attention to is the map at the top of the page. And I call this the interactive map. And there's a lot going on this map. The first thing you'll notice is there's a section of the beach trail that's highlighted in green. And that just simply tells me that there's a tide restriction on this area. There are icons on the map too, such as waterfalls, bridges, ladders, a cabin, place names, and all of these can be tapped on to pull up more information. So I'm going to tap on the cabin, and it's going to tell me information about the Trail Guardian cabin that's located at Chicawas. I may be curious what's going on the upstream of Darling River there, that waterfall. I'm going to tap on that, and it's going to tell me about a little hidden gem of a waterfall that most hikers just blow right past. So there's a ton of stuff to click around on and interact with on the map. There's also some important overlay buttons. In the top right-hand corner, there is a full screen button. If I tap that, it'll go full screen with the map, and I can rotate my phone into landscape mode and really get a full immersive map experience. In the bottom left of the map, there's bottom right of the map, there's a layers button, and there I can turn on and off layers like shipwrecks and ladders. I can also switch and use the original Parks Canada map as opposed to simplified map if I want to see how it compares to my paper map. And then at the bottom left, there's a GPS icon, and that GPS icon I'll talk about later on when we talk about premium features. So scrolling down below the map, there's information about the section I'm looking at, the start and end place name, the date I'm traveling this section, and also the kilometer marker that covers the section, right? In this case, it's kilometers 14 through 17 on the map. And below that is the description for this segment of the thing, for this trail description for this section. Sorry. Lance has been working on these, and they're really nicely written. They're sort of half trail guide, half trail historian, and there's a ton of knowledge baked into every one. Oh, and of course, the description magically changes depending on if you're traveling northbound or southbound, if you're in the forest or if you're in the beach. In this case, there's a beach option, a forest option. I can read a few lines of it. I can expand more and read more about it, or I can flip easily between beach and forest. Okay, so scrolling down here, I'll get to the tide restrictions section. And this section tells me that green highlighted section we saw earlier on the map is passable at 2.7 meters or below, and it uses my travel date combined with the tide chart data to show me the exact time windows down to 1 minute intervals where I can safely pass the beach trail. And I would say this is kind of one of the most magical features in the app, right? Like if you compare that to the tide information that Parks Canada gives you, which really just gives you the times of the highs and lows during the day, this is going to give you so much more flexibility and accuracy to really safely navigate the trail. So scrolling down, I have highlights. It's going to tell me points of interest on the trail. It's going to tell me about water sources. There's a daylight section that tells me what time sunrise and sunset might be. There's even another section on tides that just talks about the highs and lows of the day. And then there's also a little breakdown of distances about what this section is and kind of what my daily tally is so far. Scrolling further down, because Chickawas is a campsite, and that's my destination segment, it's going to give me the campsite details for that day. And you can see for every campsite that's on the map, there's a little bit of a write-up about it, but then there's also this really detailed satellite image that shows me the best places to camp, shows me where the bear boxes are, shows me where the bathrooms are, stuff like that. Good. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back up here and talk really briefly about navigation. So I'm on this section. I want to move to a different section of the map. I've got two ways to do that. I can hit the back button. I can go back to the trail view. I can go to the section I want. I can drill back down into it. Or when I'm on the section page, I can just simply swipe left and swipe right to navigate through the map. And that's the easiest way to do it by far. So let me swipe right a few times here till I get to a different section, Klanawa to Suziat. And let's look at this because there's some interesting stuff here too. So looking at the interactive map, you'll notice there are some spots on the trail where there's a ladder icon. And if you haven't hiked the West Coast Trail before, boy, get ready for ladders. Instead of switchbacks, the West Coast Trail uses ladders to gain and drop elevation. There's over 100 ladders on the trail with well over 2,500 individual rungs to go up and down. So let's look at the ladders going into Suziat camp. I'm going to click on that ladder icon just north of Suziat Falls here on the map. And then, it's going to show me all the details of the ladders. So not only does the app give you information on where the ladders are, but then it goes that next layer down and says, in a given set, how many individual ladders are there? Are they going up? Are they going down for your your direction of travel? And also, how many rungs are there in each of those individual ladders? So you can see here in this case, right, there are 4 ladders down into Suziat. There's 2 long ones and 2 short ones. Okay, let me pop up here. And then next thing, I'm going to show you something that I'm super excited about. And this feature just went in like yesterday. I'm going to click on Klanawa River here. And it's going to pop up and tell me about Klanawa River because it's a campsite. It's going to show me the campsite map. But I want to draw your attention to the header where it says Klanawa River. And you'll see there's a little yellow translate button next to the name. And if I click on that, then what it's going to do is it's going to give me the place name as written in the First Nations language with a phonetic translation and a literal translation if available. And while these translations are super awesome, they're in the park's map, I wanted to take this to the next level and use the advantages of having a phone versus paper map. So I reached out to the Edgar family from the DTDAT First Nation, and I asked if they'd be willing to record some audio clips of Carl Edgar Jr. saying the names in the DTDAT language. Carl agreed, and as you can see, there's a little play button right next to the written DTDAT name. And so let me play that for you. Okay, that might be a little hard to hear on the live stream, but I got to tell you, it is an incredible experience to hear the names spoken the way they should be rather than screwing them up trying to say them in my head. So huge shout out to the Edgar family, of which I have immense gratitude for their willingness to help interpret the trail for the hiker community. So, I think this is such a simple yet incredibly powerful feature. Okay, let me get out of that. And then I'm going to, hopefully that gives you a sense of the main trail features. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the summary page. So if you look at the very bottom nav bar here, I'm going to move to the second icon, which is the summary section. And here, if you think of it as if, maybe the trail page is sort of slicing up your trip into the sections you'll hike along the trail, then you can think of the summary page as slicing up your trip into the days that you'll hike along the trail. So it's a great way just to get that high-level view of what you'll encounter each day. So up top on this page, you'll see there's 3 tabs: distances, tides, and ladders. I'm on the distances tab right now, and you see it kind of gives me my daily breakdown of how far I'm going to go. Day 3 looks like a big day. I can expand that and see the point-to-point breakdown within that day. Likewise, if I click on the tides tab, it's going to give me the breakdown of the tidal restrictions I'm going to encounter each day. There's a lot on the West Coast Trail, although in day 5 here, you can see there's no tides to worry about. But day 3, there's plenty, so I'm going to drill into that. And you can see it gives me all the tide windows and the times in which it's passable and the tide limits all from this view. So really useful for planning my day. And then finally, probably what you'd expect here in the ladders tab, it's going to give me the daily breakdown of ladders I'll encounter. And that's actually a really good proxy for how much elevation you're going to do each day. You can see day 5 here is a really big day with 28 ladders and hundreds of rungs to go up and down. Okay, so let's see. Bring your focus back down to that nav bar down on the bottom again, and you'll notice there's a lighthouse icon that is violently flashing at me. So I'm going to tap on that and see what that's all about. Now I'm on the trail conditions page, and this is a really special page that is operated by Lance at Pacino Light Station. In the summer, this is a super busy page that is just packed with the latest trail conditions. It's going to tell you what creeks are flooding, if there's a fire ban, if there's wasp nests, bear sightings, rough or damaged sections of the trail, all sorts of great data. And you know, lots of hikers stop at Pacino on their way off the trail, and they share these trail conditions with Lance. As soon as Lance gets information, he puts an update out to this page, which then pushes an update to all connected devices on the trail. So it's a really good way to keep tabs on what's happening. Certainly a week or two before your trip, start paying attention to these updates because they're magic. Okay, so back down to that nav bar, I'm going to go to the next icon over, which is the guidebook. I'm going to gloss through this really quickly in the interest of time. The guidebook is a real work in progress. You're going to see a ton of changes coming to this next week. But this is where you're going to go to kind of help you with maybe some pre-trip planning stuff and just getting more familiar with the trails. There's a section on ferries that talks about ferry times, where to catch the ferry, what ferry fees might be. There's a section on orientation that tells you where to go for orientation, what time to show up, how early you should be there. There's a deep section on Owen Point that goes into a ton of depth on timing and how to navigate Owen Point, and then all sorts of religious arguments of whether you should go northbound or southbound or use poles or gloves or all that crazy stuff. There's a getting there section that goes into, you know, options taking the trail bus or driving to the trailheads. There's even a camp section that goes into every single campsite on the trail. So rather than clicking around on the map, I can just read about them all here in one place. There's even an emergency section, and this is a page that has the Parks Canada emergency line just one touch away. There's also a prepare for calls section that will give you your GPS coordinates in a really easy way to read, that you can read them to the response team if you ever get on a call with them. I hope nobody on this call ever needs this page, but if you do need it, then it's there. And then finally, there's a context section, and this just has names, email addresses, and phone numbers for people that could help you, taxis that could help you, things like that along the trail. Okay, so I'm going to switch gears, and I want to talk about the premium upgrades that I mentioned briefly. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that burger menu, click on the upgrade page here, and now we're in the upgrade section. So I can see the 2 premium offerings that are available. So like I mentioned at the very beginning, the app is free to download, it's free to use for planning, but when you take it on the trail, you may want to consider one of these optional upgrades to make your experience better. The first upgrade is the Plus subscription, and that gives you access to use the app when it's offline. If you have this option, you'll be able to use the app when you're not connected to the internet, or if you're in airplane mode, you know, if you're in the forest or wherever. All of the trail data, maps, tide charts, weather reports, trail conditions are all downloaded and cached to your device here. And I would highly recommend that you get this plan before you hit the trail. If you don't get it, then there's fairly decent cell phone coverage on the trail, at the beaches at least. And if you have a connection, you can still use the app at camp and stuff. The second upgrade is the Pro subscription, and that comes with offline, obviously, and it comes with GPS that shows your exact location on the map, and it comes with trail weather, which I'll demo next. As you can see, I've already purchased Pro here, but if I wanted it, I could just purchase Plus here for $20 a year or Pro for $30. So let's go look at the 2 Pro features real quick. I'm going to flip back out to the map. I'm going to jump onto a random location on the map, and I'm going to, remember I talked about that GPS button in the lower left-hand corner of the map? I'm going to tap that, and it's going to spin up the GPS radios, and the GPS radios are going to get a really accurate fix of my location. And when it gets a fix, it's going to switch me to the section of the trail where I'm actually located. So here it switched me to Trestle Creek to Clanoa, and you'll see that there's a little GPS cursor that shows where I'm at. And then also it gives me a approximate sort of kilometer position there that tells me I'm on KM30 on the trail. And also my lat long is shown there too. So it's super useful to have this on the trail and have your location overlaid on the conceptual parks map as you're hiking. Okay, the other premium feature, if I pop back up to the hamburger menu, is weather. Okay, weather, let's talk about weather. So West Coast Trail spans a whopping 75 kilometers of complex coastal terrain. There are several microclimates on the trail, and that means that while it might be pouring with rain at the north end near Suziat Falls, things could be bone dry on the same night down at Camper. And so the weather feature uses a combination of really quite reliable weather models for the region, the NOAA forecast, the European weather forecast, and it runs forecasts at exact locations, pinpoint lat longs along the trail. And if I drop down the forecast location, you'll see all of the campsites plus a couple of other key reference points. So let's say I'm staying in Cribs tonight. I'm going to select that from the drop-down location, and let's talk about the weather. So actually it looks absolutely phenomenal. No rain in the forecast. Although Friday looks a bit terrifying, -8 degrees Celsius there. If I drill into that, it'll give me some stats, and boy, I don't need to worry about condensation on my single wall tent with a dew point of -12 degrees Celsius that night. I might need to worry about freezing to death. And then you can see, I can scroll through sort of the hourly breakdown, and it'll give me the hour by hour weather too. So that's a great way just to get weather information. And obviously you need to be connected to download the latest weather report. So connect once a day or so, and grab the latest forecast. The forecasts are updated probably about every hour or so. Yeah, so that's it. But boy, that was I feel like I just ran at a million miles an hour with a quick whirlwind tour of the app. So hopefully you found that as a useful jumping off point for downloading the app for yourself and to just kind of start exploring and experimenting on your own. Okay, one last thing I want to do here, because it was going to be the big reveal on the live stream, is I wanted to offer a 50% discount to everyone on the live stream and everyone on the Facebook group off of the Pro version. And so let me tell you how to do that. So the deal is basically 50% off of Pro. So you'll get Pro for less than the price of Plus if you're interested in one of these plans. The offer should be good until January 23rd. And so that means that you can make sure you get your reservation first on the 22nd, and then you can purchase Pro. But I want to get that coupon code offer out to you guys. So the way it works is this: you just go to the upgrade page in the app. It's a little different on iOS and Android, but I'll show you the iOS flow. And then down at the very bottom, there's an options button. If I click options button, it pops this menu and I can type in redeem code. And the code for the offer is Go West Coast Trail, Go WCT, like that. And on Android, it'll just reduce the price on this page for you, and you can purchase in-app. On iOS, it's going to kick me out to the Apple App Store, and it will come up like that. And you'll basically get an offer through the App Store for half price for the first year, basically. And so you can redeem that offer from the App Store. So that's how that works. And then the only other slightly quirky thing for iOS is if your subscription doesn't show up right away, see where it says Pro subscription expires. If that doesn't show up when you get back to the app, click on options and choose restore purchases, and that'll resynchronize things with the App Store and make sure that anything you bought outside of the app, which would have been the coupon code, gets purchased there. So anyway, there you go. Happy trails. And thanks for hanging in there this long.